Hello viewers, have you ever seen this car before? Because, well, I haven't either. What I'm going to do though, give it a couple of races around the legendary Maggiore in Italy. The car is a Zagato, never heard of it before. It looks interesting and I've put myself second on the grid for a 10 lapper around here, the classic circuit. So then, I'm still in the process of really trying to seriously build my driver rating. I would like to get A plus S, formerly SS, although there is now a new SS in town. But the aim is A plus S eventually. Bateman, the Finn, comes out of nowhere, kind of bundles me a bit wide, gets a penalty in the process, and I drop out down into third at the beginning of the race. No worries though, it is a long race, 10 laps, we're looking at about 20 minutes in total. And perhaps a theme of this video is trying out varying strategies, because perhaps I'm guilty of just trying to drive to halfway into the race, go for a fuel stop and then just drive the rest of the race, when you could mix it up a little bit. Something I haven't ever done really much in the game is skip the tyre change altogether. So you come into your pit stop and you can elect to just not have any new tyres. You can just think, okay, I'm not going to change them. You'll save about 3-4 seconds by doing it, but then you'll have to drive the second half of the race with worn tyres. So you gain time, but then you'll probably lose time as you suffer for grip later on. But it's something to consider as a way of sort of getting ahead of some opponents, especially if it's a race where the tyre wear isn't very high or you're very good on your tyres, one of the two. So this is the end of lap 1, just beginning to get dropped by the top 2. So did qualify second, but it isn't, qualifying doesn't always truly represent the true pace of everyone. Sometimes you can simply have just a magical lap and you can't really replicate it in the race, in which case you're going to drop back. Or some people just didn't really bother in qualifying, set an awful lap, and then they'll move forwards during the race. And into turn 1, I just massively misjudged my braking point, massively. Normally you're braking around about 100, and I thought I did, but obviously, well, clearly I didn't, because I went flying into the back of the Finn. Lucky to not get a penalty, very lucky indeed actually, and actually quite lucky to only lose just the one position. Obviously not an ideal situation, losing out, because now I'm going to be embroiled with a battle with the Italian here, and then it will take a while to try to get back onto terms with the top 2 drivers, but we can definitely give it a try. So first up, objective has to be just try and get past this guy, the Italian, on home turf, heading into the twisty S's. Got to really get this right to give yourself a good slingshot onto this back straight into the amazingly banked corner. And well, I've done the exact opposite by getting a really poor run, actually getting a nudge from behind, which actually helps me if anything. And later on in the lap, I did manage to slightly reel him in, so I did make plenty of mistakes, as it is a fairly tricky car to drive. It might look futuristic and all grippy and everything, but it feels quite simply weird. It feels very, very strange. Into turn 1 on the brakes, so we brake around about the same time, actually hit my braking point this time around without messing up. First and second still fairly close, although still maybe 3-4 seconds ahead. First place 4 seconds ahead. Into turn 4, varying lines for this corner. You can really take a lot of lines, and I'm going to use plenty of the extra runoff on the exit as we go now into turn 5, easily up the inside. Don't want to brake too late, but I think I have done. It's going to compromise my exit. I think he's braked actually quite a lot later. Well, he braked earlier, but then somehow seemed to go on a little bit. So back up into third position. So it's quite a crucial moment here. You don't really want to be in a battle with this guy. I think it can be crucial in your race. If you go past someone and you're faster than that person, you don't really want to be in a battle with them. So you do need to kind of get the hammer down straight away. And you can see I've had a really poor exit onto this back straight, so I'm going to be immediately defending as we then go in. So quite deep on the brakes, hitting the apex though. We do get through there okay, but it's on the exit where we get a slide as we go up the hill. The Italian's going to go back through. This is not really good news for the whole race, as we are looking still to try to break into that top 2. You see the gap increasing now. 5 seconds between myself and the leader of the race. So this battle here, not good at all. And it doesn't look too bad. We're still fighting quite nicely together, but going through moves is suboptimal. You're going to be losing time by doing it, and even if you lose half a second or 1 second, that can take a couple of laps to regain, especially if you're similar pace to the guys up ahead. Into turn 5 once again, looking up the inside, and I just grazed the rear corner of his car and somehow give him a penalty. Quite how that worked out, I don't know, but I might be onto something here. Just graze the rear corner of other people's cars and give them penalties. There is an update around about now. Depends which time it comes out, so I'm not sure exactly when this update is going to come out. It might have come out already by the time this video is released, but light contact won't be penalised as heavily anymore, which is a good news. So at the end of lap 4, rounding out the final corner, looking for the end of that grass. There it is. That's your kind of late apex point on the outside. He's going to go in. He's going to cover me off. I am going to go up the inside, and then he eventually moves over, braking on the 100-metre board, and we've got it right this time around. Up to third. This is something I should have done 3 laps ago. Got past him and tried to get clear. Is he going up the inside here? Not really a big braking zone, so he shouldn't be able to do it. And we are through just about into a safe third. So we can now finally go about trying to catch up with first and second. My hope would be that they try to abuse each other. I'm going to save a bit of time in the pit stop. They had 9 and 14% left of fuel respectively. I had 20, so I did save a fair amount over them. Obviously I would have to refill a lot less, and in the second half of the race I'll be able to use less, so I don't have to put so much fuel in. So you can see here the gap, lap 8 now, definitely reeling them in, down to 2.5 seconds now. This is the end of lap 8, crossing to start 9, setting the fastest lap of the race. That's a good sign, and hopefully they will take note of that, the 2 guys ahead, and it may affect the way that they drive, knowing that the guy behind them is reeling them in. So this really shows you that perhaps I was the quickest person on the track, but early mistakes really do cost you. So I do get complained at for driving cautiously, but sometimes that is the right way to go on the whole. And just coming out of this centre last turn, just gets a 6/10 penalty, just running a tiny bit too wide. The main thing I'm looking at here is the guy ahead, Bateman, who has a penalty, so I'm just trying to get as close as possible, because that penalty might be big enough for me to go past him. I'm going to have to slow down to serve my own penalty, and ultimately it wasn't enough. So the lesson of that race is definitely, try not to make big errors, try and play it safe a little bit towards the beginning of the race, as you see the race is just over 20 minutes long, so there's no point in really forcing the issue too early. So unlucky there. Fastest lap is a small consolation, I suppose, but we're going to move to the second race, where hopefully I can try to amend my strategy of not spinning off, and we can go one better hopefully. So starting third this time around, driver rating A and AS, so not too bad at the moment, so we should be being matched with some fairly good drivers. Rolling start, daily race C, into the first turn. Going to be nice and careful this time, make sure we don't go into the back of the guys ahead. That is a worry of mine now, because just far too many times I've been going just into the back of the guy ahead, trying to trail brake, into the corner, carry a lot of speed in, and nothing really comes of it. The guy just survives and gets around the corner fine, but you get a penalty for that. So you've got to be definitely careful on that first corner, just to make sure you don't go into the back of the guy ahead and receive a silly penalty early on. You don't really want to be getting those penalties. And you see here, I've almost done it. I've almost just gone right into the back of him, to try to really carry a lot of speed. into turn 5. A bit of oversteer on the exit as we go over the hill, up the crest, and into the sweeping S's. First the left, then the right, then it's the long left here, which is the crucial one, and it leads directly onto the straight. And we've got that. I mean, that's hard to take. This chicane here is very easy. It's flat out, very easily flat out. The ones just around before that, not quite as easy, and they can make or break your lap. Going over this crest down into probably the best overtaking opportunity on the lap. I was going to go into the back of him there, so I just tried to go into the gap to make sure I didn't. I come up the hill. We're now being attacked by the Dane, so hopefully we can just keep this position as we defend. Yes, we can just about do that. So just about flat out through this chicane. A lot of the Group 3, Group 4 cars can take that flat, and I would say this car feels, in terms of pace, it's around about a Group 3 car. I'd say perhaps it's a bit quicker in a straight line, but through the corners it's just a little more clunky. The brakes aren't as good, and it's just a little bit, just feels a lot heavier than a Group 3 car on the whole, but I think it is slightly quicker in a straight line. Lap times are fairly comparable to a Group 3 car though. 2-minute lap time to kick off the race as he goes very defensive last second there, and I really had to take evasive action almost onto the grass, or 2 wheels onto the grass, just to avoid that. So quite a dodgy defensive move. Normally you shouldn't really move across whilst in the braking zone, but he has done it. Perhaps it is Max Verstappen in disguise, but no worries, we survive to try to get a good exit out of turn 4. Not quite going to work for me, so now rushing down towards turn 5. This is a good overtaking opportunity here. You can see I've just gone into the back of him, nothing really come of it. He still hit the apex nicely, but as I said earlier in the race, trying to avoid this, and I've done it again, gone into the back of him, got a 5-second penalty. He's got a 1-second penalty as a result of that. But this is definitely going to have to change the way I play this race now. 5-second penalty, trying to get rid of it in the most economical way. Another penalty there, up to 6 seconds. Okay, so we've got 6 seconds worth of penalty. Got 2 guys immediately behind. First place is beginning to drive off, which I'm not surprised about because his qualifying time was very good. Second place is definitely on in the end. So if we can do that, then I'll be happy. But it's not going to be easy at all, because 6 seconds is quite a long time, especially when the race is very close. And through the chicane, for some reason, you can just lift off and it will serve the penalty, even though you're not really, well, you are losing a lot of time, but it could be worse. A lot of corners, it doesn't really let you do that. It doesn't really, the penalty won't go down if you just coast, but through that chicane, it does. We've got rid of, about 2.3 seconds worth of penalty. So a couple more of those and we will get rid of that whole 6 seconds. So obviously a very silly penalty to receive, and one that really won't help my cause overall. But what my main thought here is, I'm in the back of this pack, and I could risk trying to get through it, but it's a good time to serve the penalty right now because they're going to be all fighting with each other. I'm going to catch up with them again quite easily. So I'm going to slow down. And you can see they're just serving all of the penalty. I'm going to lose maybe 2 seconds to the guys ahead. But this is half a lap later, or barely half a lap later, and I'm already back on them. Just because, as I said, they're in a group, they're going to be fighting, and it's actually very easy to catch back up. I'm not really pushing too much. So overall, I've served all the penalty, that's good, and I'm almost back on terms, which I probably will be in a moment. You see they're going extremely defensive up there. The Frenchman in second, really fighting for his position. As we come into the back turn, Frenchman's still in second, and the Dane, the Spaniard, all over the shop trying to fight each other for position. So we're going to try to get on terms here. This is the end of lap 4, so presumably at the end of lap 5 we're going to go for that pit stop. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, I'm going to be going for that different strategy. You see the tyre wear isn't actually too bad at the bottom of the screen there. I haven't really worn out the tyres really too much. So perhaps we could just try out a different strategy. Why the hell not? It's only a game at the end of the day. If it doesn't work out, then at least I'm still alive and haven't died. Or, well, I might die, you just never know. But coming around the final turn, this is the end of lap number 4. and this is the end of lap number 5. You can see I'm still very close. The Frenchman's dropped down to 4th. It's the Dane now up in 2nd. I'm going to swing left here. The Dane swings left. The Spaniard and the Frenchman don't pit, which is interesting. I've saved fuel quite well behind them guys as well. 31% this time. I had 20% at the end of the first stint in the previous race. So this time around, saving a lot more fuel behind that group, which is going to mean a quick pit stop. And I didn't change for tyres, so overall I'm going to save quite a lot of time. In fact, the guy not immediately ahead of me, but the guy ahead of him is the race leader. Well, he will be once everyone's pitted. So that's how much time I've gained. I'm maybe 2 seconds behind him now, whereas I was maybe 6 or 7 or 8 seconds behind him. So I've definitely gained overall. We'll see at the end of this lap exactly how much. I think behind the Dane I was maybe 2-3 seconds, and he pitted. In fact, I'm about 2 seconds ahead of him now. So unfortunately the strategy didn't quite work out because I got stuck behind this guy, and he maybe slowed me down by about a second on that lap. So not ideal. So actually, just looking behind there, that is the Dane who was in 2nd. So that's how much I've jumped. He was maybe 2 seconds ahead, now I'm 1 second ahead of him. And coming to the end of the race, I have track position, but I have the more worn out tyres. First place is just ahead of us. Looking behind, it's very close indeed. So roles reversed really. I was at the back of that group for the first stint, just looking in at the back, saving fuel, saving tyres, and now I'm at the front of the group and, well, doing the same, still trying to save my tyres and save my fuel, but I'm going to have to defend heavily from them if I want to keep this 2nd place. It's going to be a hard one to do. We still have 3.5 laps left to go, but we'll do our best. The crucial points really on this circuit are this chicane, which lead onto the back straight, as I've said. Probably the best overtaking opportunity, the longest straight on the track. You know, in most circuits, the longest straight is almost always leading into the best overtaking opportunity. It does a lot of the time, and I think that is the case here. And I'm already getting caught. I'll just move over there just to see if he moves over as well, just to really test whether he is within range. And I think he is within range because he moved as well to follow me. So I'm kind of sticking with first. I'm not, you know, dropping too much, but ominously 3rd and 4th are extremely close behind. And through the chicane, just drifting a little wide, just having to lift off momentarily. The Dane is now coming in for an assault into the 3rd to last corner. A bit of contact as we go through. And then I'm going to get a 1 second penalty for that. He's going to get a 5 second penalty for that. And unfortunately the Spaniard has managed to go through as well. So I've dropped 2 positions. Not great news. Really not great news. Not the best move. I did leave him car width, but he has got a 5 second penalty. So that could factor in at the end of the race. So I mean, just stay within 5 seconds of him, and I should be able to beat him. I do have the 1 second. Okay, finish 4 seconds behind him, so I've got the 1 second penalty myself. I should be able to beat him. We have got the Spaniard here though. I think ideally I need to just get back past him as early as possible. He's got a penalty now. Couldn't quite work out what that was for. I think they did make contact. Nothing really came of it though. So then, with just under 3 laps to go, can I recover a position? It seems like this might be the wrong strategy because I'm definitely going to have the older tyres now. Fuel should be okay, but it's just the tyres I've got to worry about. So perhaps I could have just matched them and just gone for the tyres and then just tried to attack them. But I thought, as I said, you know, just try something different. I think by trying new things, by understanding the game a lot better, you're going to improve at the game. Even if it doesn't work out for you, your understanding of the game is improved. So it is worth always trying, even if it doesn't quite work out every time. So on this occasion, I don't think it is quite going to work out for me. You can see just how much through the chicane they pull away. As we fast forward here, just get rid of the penalty, and that's unfortunately invited the Frenchman in for an assault. I'm going to say a talk there. He's not really going to talk to me, he's just going to drive past. Probably doesn't speak English anyway. So then he goes through down into 5th. So this isn't really looking good. The only consolation I might have is that 2nd and 3rd have penalties. So we could recover a position or 2 if those penalties are big enough. But this is the end of the race now. In fact, the Dane has dropped off. It's the Spaniard now in second, the Frenchman in third, the Dane in fourth. So our main objective here is really try and keep as close as possible to the Dane, get as close as I can, and hope that his penalty is big enough. I think even if it's just 1 second, then I probably won't. In fact, I'm just about under a second behind, but he was the one who got the 5-second penalty for the contact earlier, so I think it should be okay. Should be alright as we go through the final turn. Different strategy, hasn't really worked out, but it was worth a shot, and it was good practice in the end. He does have to brake for the line. I'm up into fourth. So overall, an interesting race, an interesting result. I started third and lost out ultimately, going down to fourth. But I think it was worth a try, worth trying something different. Let me know your thoughts as always, guys. I do hope you enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy the video, then do hit the like button, and I shall see you next time. Thank you for watching as always, guys. Goodbye.